Welcome in. Hail to the podcast brought to you by Maize and Blue Review. We cover Michigan athletics for the Rivals Network, which means you can find us at michigan.rivals.com. New look website, Rivals completely rebranding. Josh is rocking the new logo there from the Rivals 5-star event. He was down in Jacksonville this week, getting some exciting information on the brand while also taking part in a really, really cool event we will get into. Michigan had a couple guys show out at that event, a couple commits, a couple targets. We'll get into that. We'll obviously talk about some recent commits. Once again, Michigan had a few drop. And as the way summer recruiting goes, a couple guys that were maybe trending blue before, maybe not as much now. And we had at least one commit that kind of came out of nowhere last week. So like I said, so is Michigan summer recruiting. We'll get into all of that this show. And then feel free to, you guys, throw any questions you may have, any comments in there. Like I said, we want this to be an interactive show. If you ask about something I know we're going to get to, then we'll get to it, but we'll try and answer as many questions as we can. So Trevor McCue here, as always, joined by Josh Henschke, insider publisher, Mr. Maize and Blue Review himself. Nice little flight down to Jacksonville, right? So
yeah.
Sounds like you got the Greyhound bus treatment.
Yep. Yeah. Had a couple of delays, and it is what it is. Such is the beauty of modern travel.
And where were you sitting?
I was sitting right in front of the toilet, and it smelled like pee the whole time. Like they clean the plane too, but I guess not enough. So
there's nothing you can do. It's right there. It's
right.
It's basically a porta potty.
Yeah, it is.
There's a little flap.
Disgusting. At any rate, let's talk
nice
about
transition. Here we go.
Let's talk about our sponsor, shall we? The guy who helps makes us go. I want to shout out and talk about my friend West here at My Perfect Franchise. Again, he's been around since day one. And the My Perfect Franchise brand has been, and again, his services are 100% free. So, a no risk type of deal here. If you want to give him a call to kind of see if there's a fit, would you like to escape corporate America for good? Maybe you'd like to start a business on the side and keep your corporate gig. Wes can help. Wes is a franchise consultant as well as a business owner and can help you find a franchise that fits your skill set, financial requirements, how much time you have to commit, and more. Franchise is a business startup and operations kit, perfect for those with general business skills, but who may not have specific knowledge on starting and running a small business. His services are 100% free, and he's here to help if you have any questions about business ownership. You can reach him by phone at 512-970-7478. Again, that's 512-970-7478, or see him on the web at myperfectfranchise.net/aboutwest.
Sorry about that. Nice little transition for you there. I don't know, that popped in my head, but I'm going to take a question right off the jump here because I've got a guy that I did not include in our timeline today. See a bunch of questions about Shamari Earls, corner, obviously committed to South Carolina. Visited, was that the 14th, right? It was the weekend before Victor's weekend. Sorry. Visited Michigan. Obviously they're putting a press on him, and Georgia still looming in the background for the Virginia corner.
Yep. Yeah. I'm going to try and confirm 100% that he's going to be at the barbecue.
It seems likely, but I haven't heard for sure.
Yeah. Obviously that's a very good thing for Michigan if he's there before he even takes an official visit. I think Michigan's right there. I mean, at this point, I'm going to be shocked if he sticks with his commitment to South Carolina. I mean, he's going to flip somewhere.
Yeah, agreed.
It might be Georgia. It might even be Michigan at this point. But again, the more frequent you can see Earls come to Michigan, that's going to be good for them. Obviously, they're going to be in a battle with Georgia, and flipping a Southern kid, is not going to be easy. And at this point, we'll kind of see what happens. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, Michigan's going to beat everyone. He very well may end up still in the SEC. at Georgia. But if you can get a kid on campus, you have a fighter's chance. So I think at this point, we'll see if he makes his trips. But at this point, Georgia's going to be tough to beat. I mean, that's just it just is what it is. They're going to be tough to beat, and I mean, I think cornerback recruiting right now is kind of the big question mark that Michigan has. I mean, they don't really have a bunch of key targets lined up like they do at other positions. So, and again, it's June. I'm not worried about it. I mean, there's going to be guys that we aren't even talking about right now that
of course
the radar. So we'll see. But yeah, Earls is going to be a tough flip. But I think he will flip. I mean, it's just to who at this point that really is the big question.
Yeah, I know. Lamar Morgan got involved with him very early, but I don't know, the Georgia piece just kind of, I don't know. It feels like Georgia to me, but we'll see. Okay, let's get into this real quick here. So I did want to talk on a couple Michigan commits who had strong showings at camps this week. Starting off with 2026 commit, Brady Hart. We talked about on the last show what a big deal it was to get Brady Hart's commitment so early. His intangibles, his leadership, kind of the JJ connection there, his family and the McCarthy connection, how he's already, become a recruiter for that class and looks to be the guy that's going to be the driving force. And we've seen some big names in 2026. Eyebrows go up when Brady Hart joins the Michigan class. And that's what happens with a lot of these offensive guys. They see where these big QB targets go, and that raises their interest for them, right? They want to play with elite talent. So Brady Hart at the Under Armour Next, the Future 50, absolutely showed out his team there. Team Z ended up winning it. He's blowing some people away and getting some real high praise out there. I don't remember if I said this on the last show. The comp I keep hearing with him is probably driven a lot by the fact that Clemson was interested, was Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. And this is a guy that his ceiling appears to be sky high, and it's just a matter of time until he's talked about as a 5-star and one of the top quarterbacks in that class, trending very highly here.
Yeah, I talked to his trainer, Balin Trujillo, right after he committed, and I was like, "Hey, what's your player comp for him?" And he said Aaron Rodgers, which I mean that's fine. I mean, if he turns into an Aaron Rodgers on the field, that's fine. Hopefully, not a psychopath.
I always try to say, yeah. Oh God, yeah. When we say things like that, it's more about style, right?
Yeah,
no one's saying he's gonna be Hall of Fame top 5. Nobody knows that, right? So just be clear.
Well, I think the big thing with Brady Hart is, I know and our Marshall Levinson was there and saw him. Footwork and accuracy are the two biggest knocks on his game, which easily fixed. Those two are, you don't have to do wholesale changes when it comes to mechanics and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's just minor tweaks that you can do. So if you're big complaints and big knocks against your game are footwork and accuracy, you can change those things. I mean, that's, no quarterback prospect is going to be completely polished coming out of high school. So there's always going to be a few things that have to be fixed, but you're talking about, you're not talking about release issues. You're not talking about, arm strength or whatever. It's looking like, Michigan is going to have an excellent quarterback prospect on their hands once they can kind of, mold him and get their hands on him. But, I said in last week's show, I think the great debate, is going to be, the Noah Grubbs comparisons, the Smigel comparisons. I always just want to call him.
I know.
It's but good thing we don't have to worry about that now because he's played the Florida State. Man, the 26 class of quarterbacks are loaded. I think it's way better than 2025, to be honest with you. I'm not comparing Carter Smith to anyone or whatever. I just think the overall strength of the 2026 class quarterback wise is really, really good. I mean, and you're talking about Juju Lewis, who bumped up a class. I mean, he was part of this 26 class too. So it's insanity right now, just how good 26 is from a quarterback standpoint. And I think forever these guys are going to be linked with one another, no matter what they do, where they go, how they play. They're always going to be linked. So I think that's going to be the great debate of where these guys stack up, who drops, who rises. Someone's always going to drop, and, that fan base will always kind of blame, oh, he committed to us, so he dropped. It's just what they do. So we'll kind of see. But at the end of the day, I think Brady Hart had a really good camp. And, I think that just is just going to bode well for Michigan, with two strong quarterbacks committed right now in 25 and 26. And who knows what will happen in 27. But, no concerns. No concerns with what Brady Hart brings to the table. If he keeps showing out, he's going to be fine. He's always going to be a top 50 kid, fringe 5-star. Hell, he may even get his 5-star eventually. We'll kind of see how his junior season goes. But, I said it last week, kicking off your recruiting class with a quarterback and a quarterback of Brady Hart's caliber. That's great news for Michigan. I mean, you've got your base right there as your first guy in the class. And now you can kind of, get going.
Well, yeah, that helps you at multiple positions, right? So we've seen some progress with receivers this year. We'll get into that, some of the targets there. But if you're coming to Michigan and you just saw what JJ did, and Jaden Davis is here, and Carter Smith is coming in, now Brady Hart is coming. If you're a receiver, you feel better about coming to this program because of the success you saw with the last quarterback and the dominoes they're putting together moving forward. Right. So, on that accuracy thing, this isn't 51% completion rate in high school Alex Orji, right? This is a guy that completes 67% of his passes, 4-to-1 TD to interception ratio. It's got a little bit of an elongated throw. That's why you said it too, with the footwork. It's simple mechanics. And look, JJ, they said a lot of the same things about JJ too. And Carter Smith, Jaden Davis, Brady Hart, these are things that when you think about it, he's 15, right? Like 16 years old.
Yeah.
He's got a couple more years of high school. He'll get on campus with, hopefully still Kirk Campbell at that point, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, nowadays you can't play. You said 27 and it was like Matt Damon from Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, right.
What was it last week? Ike Taylor's kid made you feel old.
Yeah.
All right. So a little bit mixture of camp notes and some recruiting notes, and then we'll get into some commits and some other trending future casts, good and bad for the Blue. Right off the top, the arguably top target on Michigan's board, well, along with the linebacker, but wide receiver Andrew Marsh, top 50 player coming out of Texas, right? Obviously shows out at the Rivals 5-star event. I have comments here from an article our national Adam Gorney wrote. He said he's long, lean. He's never going to be a physical receiver who manhandles defensive backs. I disagree a little bit with that, but that's fine. He said he can create space really well against corners, and he can catch everything thrown anywhere near him. Great hands, showed them off again at Rivals 5-star. I agree with a lot of that. You watch his tape, his hands are incredible. He's a really good route runner. He's got speed. He's that unique combination. I said I disagree a little bit with the manhandling of defensive backs just because he's stronger than he looks, right? He breaks tackles. He breaks through tackles. He gets guys off of him. And Michigan's not going to recruit a receiver that can't block.
Right.
So I think that physical piece can be there. Is he Calvin Johnson, big manhandle like that level? No. But I don't want anybody to read that and take that like he's going to get pushed over or anything. So anyway, Michigan, Texas, others in the mix there. But this guy's been in Ann Arbor a lot.
Yeah.
I can't remember if you put a future cast in for him though, didn't you? You did. Okay.
I did.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just reading this little synopsis here, Andrew Marsh, and he just sounds like the prototypical Michigan back, a guy that just has good hands, a reliable catcher and route runner, and who can block. I mean, that's Michigan's bread and butter. That's been their bread and butter at receiver for years. But
he's
my
explosive.
my
explosive.
Yeah, and that's what they need.
Yeah.
My pick is in for Michigan for Andrew Marsh. I do think they'll get him. I think they're in a great spot. Obviously, making 2 trips in about a month span, one unofficial, one official, is huge. I think now all it's coming down to is just when he's going to announce, and I think the sooner it is, the better it is for Michigan. I think Michigan is just in a really good spot coming out of that visit. The confidence is, as soon as that visit weekend wrapped up, the confidence about Andrew Marsh is really it really started to come out. I know some things here that I'm not going to say out loud, but I do think Michigan is in a really good spot for Marsh. And again, I just think what it comes down to is when he's going to announce. I don't really have a timeline. I don't think anyone really knows the timeline yet. But we'll kind of see what happens. I mean, yeah, hard not to like where Michigan sits right now. I do think they're the favorite, and I think it'll be that way until I hear otherwise, which I don't really plan on right now. So we'll see how it goes.
Would be Ron Bellamy's highest rated recruit, Michigan's highest wide receiver recruit since Donovan Peoples-Jones, which isn't a terrible comp for him, honestly, in terms of the way they were talked about as high school prospects. I know DPJ was 5-star number 1 wide receiver in the class, but in terms of their build and kind of do-it-all receivers, that's what Marsh is. And you're right, he's a perfect fit, but he also kind of brings another element that I don't want to say Michigan's been lacking, but that guy that you just can chuck the ball to and he can go up and get it every time.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, we were spoiled. It was like a run of David Terrell, Braylon Edwards, Martin Manningham. You know what I mean? Like there was just always that guy and the next guy. Man, I don't want to kiss his brother's butt, but I'm trying to think. Last best hands at Michigan, was it Darbo? Probably.
Yeah.
Nico. They didn't use Nico Collins.
Cornelius too.
Yeah, but he still had his moments. Yeah. Darbo was so underrated. That BYU one-hand catch.
Oh well, yeah. There's no deny. Yeah, Darbo was one of the most. Yeah, he was solid. That guy was solid. That combination with him and Chesson, if they were on a better team,
there he is.
I mean, not that those teams were necessarily bad. They just weren't, good enough to win the conference. But those guys, those two on like a modern Michigan team right now, they would do some. That would paired with JJ, they would do some nasty things.
Chesson's pre-injury speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darbo's over-shoulder catch against Wisconsin to win that game in 2016. I mean,
yeah, he's had his moments.
He's up there with the only reason I don't think he's the most underrated wide receiver at Michigan ever is because Jeremy Gallon exists. So
yeah.
But anyway, all right. Hey, you don't gotta sell him. I know.
We're only kissing his ass because his brother.
I'm moving on. Yeah. No, good to see you, buddy. Love that dude. All right. Pat myself on the back here. Avery Gatch said last week, we both kind of said, look, if this was a guy they were keeping locked in at tackle and not talking about him as moving to the interior, he probably is in 5-star conversation down the road.
Yeah.
Ends up winning the O-line MVP. Yeah. And again, this is an event filled with the best offensive linemen in the 2025 class.
Yeah.
A moment went viral with him and an OSU commit. And they were sharing the hell out of that drill. But end of the day, over the whole of that, Avery Gatch, MVP offensive line. Again, if he does move to guard, whatever, he looks like Trevor Keegan, Zach Zinter, that kind of dude.
Yeah. Well, there's your premier offensive lineman in the class, but Michigan isn't done recruiting that position, and it can very well could add another one in Andrew Babalola here soon. But
he makes me feel a lot better about, and we'll get to him in a minute, but he makes me feel a lot better about Gatch going to guard, and then obviously Strayhorn's your center. But
Yep. Yeah, and it just goes to show, where we had him rated. I'm talking we as in Rivals had him rated in the 2025 class. is justified. The kid was a stud. I mean, I talked to multiple guys coming out of that camp, and they're just like, man, Catch is a stud. Like he's just so good. and hey, he was kind of the best kept secret, I guess, really in the 25 class. I mean, he's kind of tucked away in Beverly Hills, Michigan, that you don't see very many recruits come out of. So he's kind of the best / worst kept secret in the state, and Michigan was able to keep him home, which is really good. Yeah, I mean, I expect kind of other networks to kind of to catch up in terms of where they have Gatch ranked. I think he's severely underrated across the board, but I think this camp really kind of solidified himself as, hey, this kid can play, and this kid belongs with the best of the best. And so there you go. I mean, I think that's, again, it's just Michigan is just doing a really good job of scouting offensive linemen. And that's another reason why I just won't have any issues about Michigan losing out on kids on the off or on both in the trenches, both sides, offensive and defensive line. I'm not worried about Michigan losing out on a kid. They're going to get theirs. I mean, Michigan had 5 commits last cycle, so it's not like they're in desperate need. And they do the portal really well. I mean, Josh Preeb is going to be a stud. They just keep adding. They'll add guys. They'll do well in the portal. So I just think they're going to be fine regardless of how this class shakes out. And again, it's June. I mean, I'm not going to freak out about recruiting in June. It's just not worth your time to get worried about it, because A, you never know who flips, and B, there are thousands of recruits out there and guys who rise and fall on the rankings. There's going to be someone that Michigan gets in on. I'm saying this in general. I'm not saying it position specific. There's going to be a guy that Michigan will get in on that we're not talking about right now.
Right.
It happens every year. I mean, I think Josiah Edmond was pretty much the guy that fit that bill last year, a guy that we never really talked about. And then bam, Michigan picks up this 4-star former Purdue commit, and that they had to do a good job of keeping in the class, and they did. So it's going to it's the good and bad of recruiting. The good, Avery Gatch, bringing him in and developing. Well, yeah, it is July.
It's
yeah,
fair. It's gonna be July.
Technically July. Yeah. Well, in my mind, I mean, the show will be publicized on the 1st, I guess, because whatever. Anyway, semantics, neither here or there. It's July. It's a dead period too, by the way. So
yeah,
it's. I'm just not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Avery Gatch is going to be a stud. I think Strahan's a really intriguing prospect at center, and I just think, they'll be fine. They're going to be fine.
Yes, it does. Yeah, there's positions, and I know staff turnover, blah blah blah, but there's just spots where Michigan has earned benefit of the doubt from me, and offensive line is one of them, especially with Sharon Moore still the head coach and Grant Newsome there. I just cannot make myself freak out about that position group. I like who they have already, and again, we'll talk about some targets on the board right now. But yeah, you're right. People are going to commit, and you're going to be like, oh, where'd this guy come from, right? And look, they've missed on dudes in the past, and then lower recruited guys come in and end up being studs. I was thinking about, obviously we'll get to him, but Hardy Watts with the Wisconsin talk, a former number 1 5-star offensive lineman right here in my neck of the woods in West Michigan, Logan Brown, went to Wisconsin. And in that class, Michigan got Trevor Keegan, Trent Jones, and Carson Barnhart.
Yep.
So, it's just a spot I'm not going to freak out about. Anyway, another riser very quickly. Jasper Parker, running back, when he committed, people are kind of like, oh, who's this guy? Blah, blah, very kind of similar to Micah Kahapana, where people didn't know a bunch about him and then start watching the tape, goes to this Rivals 5-star event, flashes not just as a running back, also as a wide receiver, running drills. And we talked about that, right? They're selling him on the Donovan Edwards kind of role. So again, rising, not a shock there. I guess the bigger running back news, we brought up Jordan Davison last week, and Josh obviously said didn't see that going Michigan's way. It was just kind of interesting. Some of the talk coming out of Ohio State, obviously, and some of the rumors there. It's interesting with some recruitments because you get info from different places, but the timeline doesn't necessarily match up. So it gets confusing because you don't know what happened when kind of thing. Right. And things kind of make sense there now where Davison probably felt really good about Michigan at one point, better than people realized. And maybe Michigan felt better about Davison than people realized. And he ends up the week of the Ohio State visit. Things change, right? Michigan maybe doesn't feel as well or whatever happens there. And they ended up taking Donovan Johnson's commitment when Davison went to Ohio State. So that was that's our second back. And then he goes to Ohio State, and you can go to the OSU guys for whatever info you want there, but kind of a similar situation. Sounds like he tried leveraging Michigan with Ohio State, and they kind of said the same thing, like, all right, we got two backs, we're already done. Right. And he leverages his way to Oregon, which, I mean, not a bad spot to go. They're killing it recruiting right now, whatever. But so it looks like timeline wise, that's maybe why things are kind of confusing for folks. Sounds like that Ohio State visit just kind of made it Oregon for sure. Right. So Michigan's got Parker and Johnson, going to have the two backs. Again, I expect Johnson to fully bounce back. 18 months past an ACL injury. We've already seen him doing some drills. He looks good.
Yeah.
I don't expect that to be an issue. Those are the two backs moving forward. But hey, again, shocker. Here's Jasper Parker rising up the boards. And if Johnson's healthy this fall, Michigan just stole a top 55-star running back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously time will tell, but and I'm not going to try and make comparisons to Davison and Johnson. I mean, whatever. I mean, unfortunately it is what it is, what happened there. Kids can do what they want, and that's totally fine. Michigan's got their guys. And again, if Jasper Parker continues to do what he does and still had a good camp and does his rise and is rising, Michigan, it's just a good job of identifying talent and securing the talent, especially in a state like Louisiana, where not many kids go up north, and Michigan's got multiple guys that they're going to get and have gotten from Louisiana that are going to go up north. So, I'm not going to sit here and say and not stress trusting the staff until they've proven that they can't be trusted with their I know obviously there's new faces, so it's not going to be the same type of identification and development process of what it's been in the past, but the same idea of what Michigan is still there. So you just got to trust them at this point. I mean, Donovan Johnson's going to show you why he was rated what he was before his injury. And as you said, 18 months post ACL, he should be back to normal and then some. So you'll start to see him playing well and prove a lot of people that doubted this take that, hey, Michigan might know what they're doing here. So as Borge Warner pointed out, Michigan is really successful at running back and has a type of running back that they like. And both Jasper Parker and Donovan Johnson fit the mold of what they like. And, don't forget Jordan Marshall. That kid is going to play. So, Michigan is building depth at running back again. And there's a lot to like with both Jasper Parker and Donovan Johnson. And if they can hit on that, they're golden. I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo a take that Michigan take. I'm not gonna crap on a kid. If he's good enough for Michigan, he's good enough for me. I mean, these are teenage boys that we're talking about. I'm not gonna talk down on a kid, because I don't think he's good enough or whatever. My opinion doesn't mean anything anyway. No one cares about what I have to say about a kid. So,
you're hosting a show where people are listening for your opinion.
I'm not gonna. It's true.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's
You're exactly right. I'm a dude that talks in front of a microphone. I'm not out here, I'm not the type. I'm not going to say I'm not taking these kids or whatever and breaking them down but whatever. I'm just going to stress to just trust the staff because they've proven they can do it. Until they can't prove they can do it, that's fine. And I think people are being a little too, I don't want to say too hard on Tony Alford, but a little too, I think, unrealistic with their expectations when it comes to Tony Alford. Yeah, I mean, these are kids that are going to rise in the rankings, but I think now he's in a position where he's going to have to prove himself as a developer, and I think he can do it. And I don't think he's not going to be the type of guy that just points at a 5-star kid and say, "Hey, come on down." I mean, he's never been that way to begin with. He is a very good recruiter. Don't get me wrong, but I think now we're in a position where Alfred's going to have to develop these kids, and I think he will. And again, it starts this year with the young guys that they have. They're going to have to build some depth because Donovan is a senior this year, and they've got some youth behind them. So again, you just have to trust the process. I know that's kind of a played out phrase, but it's true. You have to trust it and let it play out and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, and that's going to be what ultimately determines the Ohio State to Michigan switch, right? That was Ohio State's argument, was always losing these recruiting battles and these top guys they're not developing. And Michigan's kind of always been like, well, you guys have never really been, not really, but in the Ryan Day era, maybe not as dedicated to the run game. Maybe you haven't had the O-line, right? So it'll be interesting to see if it was Ohio State maybe holding him. He's been pretty open about that whole thing, and both sides feeling like a change was good and he's happy here and blah, blah, blah. So recruiting wise, yeah, tough spot putting him in because you're at Ohio State recruiting against Michigan. And then you go to Michigan and have to now kind of, hey, remember what I said before? Don't listen to me now. Right. So it'll be the 26 kids will be interesting, right? You got Hyder, Mallory, some other big names he's in on. We'll see what he does there.
Well, and the argument too is that, that before it was, Alford getting shoved in a locker by Ohio State for Davison. It's like, yeah, look how it's recruiting. It's just, it happens. Like it just, things happen.
Well, and I don't want to even bring it up. People are talking about it in the comments. I don't like how we're assigning wins and losses in recruiting now. So we have to make excuses for losses and put out these PR arguments. And sometimes you say things about a recruit where it's what? Why is this even being talked about? Because you got to justify the incoming L because he's going to go somewhere else. It's just, I don't know, it's just gross.
And yeah, and again, I don't want to spend any more time on this than I have to. But if Jordan Davison is 240 pounds, then I'm 350. That's ridiculous. That kid does not weigh 240 pounds if you look at him. Or if he does, he's built like a brick shithouse because that's not 240 on a kid. Not even close. But anyway, whatever. That's neither here nor there. Let's move on to the next guy.
Yeah. Also 240 pounds, Kalel Mullings and Benjamin Hall. So I brought it up real quick. Hill Knight, aside from the 2 taking 3 running back debate, I do not see that young man leaving SEC country, especially now that Ole Miss lost their running back. Seems like he'll probably head there. But anyway, all right, let's try and speed through a couple here. Got Taz Williams listed here because he was at the event. Did not show up in Rivals top 10 rankings for the wide receiver class. So I didn't really have a lot of notes on him from the event specifically. His recruitment's kind of bounced around a little bit in terms of who the competition felt like it was going to be. And now it feels like it might be a Big Ten rival here with Taz Williams.
Yeah, Penn State has picked up a lot of momentum here for Taz. I think a lot of it kind of seemed to flip when Michigan got in the mix for Andrew Marsh. I mean, I think they obviously would take both. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But Philip Wright is still there on the board, and I still feel good about him. He's a couple of weeks away from an announcement. I still think that bodes well for Michigan. But yeah, I think once he started taking his official visits, I think that's when it kind of trended away from Michigan. But on the flip side, it doesn't really matter if you land Marsh. If you land Marsh, I think a lot of it is it's going to be fine. Yeah, I think Penn State is probably, I'd say, the team to beat right now for Taz, unless Michigan can get back in on it. But there are some other names out there that they can get. I know they have that. I can't think of his name right now. He's that former Ole Miss commit. He's going to visit for the barbecue. What is his name? I can't think of it. It escapes me at the moment. But
Miles?
Yes,
Miles. Yeah.
Miles. Yes, thank you.
That is not what I had. You know how you think you have it on the tip of your tongue?
Yeah.
I was nowhere close, so I'm glad I didn't guess.
Terrell Miles, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're in on him too. I mean, will they get him? It's too early to tell, but a good visit, could change some things. But Michigan has options out there, and a lot of options that they're sitting in a good spot for. So, for once, I'm not exactly going to be concerned about receiver recruiting because they have their options, and they're pretty good options too.
And obviously things can change, but as we sit here today, in terms of more likely than not, a class of Marsh, Williams, and Wright, sign me up. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right. Or not Williams, excuse me. Washington.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking at Williams and forgot about the commit. So nothing really new to report other than anybody thinking maybe the commitment was going to come quickly. That's probably not the case with Nathaniel Owosu-Boateng, who, shocker, looked good at the 5-star Rivals event. I don't need to explain how good he is, obviously. Look, the interest in Michigan seems genuine. The visit went well. We've talked about this a many times. Visits usually don't go poorly.
Yeah, right.
Notre Dame's obviously got a huge pull with the ties to his family and everything. So, hey, still there, but that's not one I think's, I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to laugh when he commits tomorrow because I'm having this conversation. But according to him, don't see this one moving super quickly yet.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like in a rush. He just basically he told our national guys, it'll happen when it happens. So, I mean, we'll kind of see. I'm not going to sit here and expect anything imminent. But again, we've said that before, and it changes within 2 hours after the podcast's done. So Michigan's definitely in the mix. I would say they're probably trending top 2, with Notre Dame. I think it's going to be a Michigan-Notre Dame battle. Notre Dame's going to be tough to beat. Obviously his brother went there. His brother, got to the NFL from Notre Dame. Owusu-Boateng insists that family pull isn't going to be a thing for him, but it always works itself out to be that way eventually. So the fact that Michigan is in on this, basically coming in out of nowhere, because I think with Brian Jean-Marie coming in, they really came from behind because they weren't really recruiting him at all, before Coach BJ got there. So the fact that they are where they are right now is good. But again, it doesn't matter if they're you gotta close on these kids. Being in the mix is all fine and dandy, but these are the type of kids that really kind of change the trajectory of your program. I mean, we're talking about a day one starter here. I mean, this kid is legit. He's a legit. I mean, he's like, that dude looks college ready right now, just from a physical standpoint.
He could replace Junior Colson today.
Yeah.
Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So I think, in order for Michigan to get him, they're going to have to get him on campus more than once at this point. And I think, you have to. I mean, it's good that, as Justin pointed out, the IMG teammate, the IMG connection is good. I don't think that's going to be the ultimate decider, but you got to have him on campus.
Yeah.
You got to get him on campus. You got to get him back on there, because if you're just going off vibes, then that stuff wears out rather quickly. And kind of things go back to the momentum kind of goes back to where it was before. So the more they can get him on campus for a game, the better Michigan's chances. I always kind of say follow the visits. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now we're talking about a Michigan Notre Dame battle. I mean, Notre Dame's been in this thing forever, but and Justin points out here, Wink wants him to play early and can flourish. Yeah, he's got Wink is working hard on this one too. I mean, this is kind of a full court press for Michigan from multiple angles. So, if they're gonna miss on this kid, it isn't because they didn't try, but that's again, not trying and putting in the efforts all fine and dandy, but you gotta land some kids. So we'll see how this goes.
Dave's here asked this question because I said visits always go good. He goes, have you ever had a recruit ask a recruit about a visit and have them say it sucked and death would be preferable? Not that death would be preferable, but there is one, and it absolutely drives me insane. In the 2025 class, Michigan was incredibly early on this kid. He was playing safety kind of out of place. This was before he could get offers from coaches. So like the coaches had to talk to his high school coaches. That was the only communication he had or whatever. And they talked about moving him to linebacker. Underrated 3-star kid out of Texas named Riley Pettyjohn. Yeah. now the number one linebacker in the class. He came in March of 2023 for his first visit, and it was so early in the cycle. Like I said, he didn't really have any relationship with the coaches.
Yeah,
and the weather was terrible.
Yep.
That weekend, and I remember asking him about it, and I was like, all right, well, he's never coming back. So, and now Ohio State is in play with him, so I'm hoping he stays in the state of Texas, because that's going to make me sick. I remember watching his tape and just being like, oh, they found another diamond here. And he obviously blew up in the rankings, and he's a stud. But sometimes that happens. It's, they show up, the weather sucks, and timing's not right, whatever.
Real quick, I saw it in the comments, and I can't remember. Someone asked about Marco Jones.
Yeah, I got him.
Oh, is he coming up?
He's coming up.
All right, then never mind. Then when he comes up, then we'll bring him up.
There he is.
Okay, yeah.
Here, let's go out of order, because we've already kind of talked about Taz. We talked about Babalola a little bit. We'll touch on him and then whatever. But yeah, Marco Jones. So this one was interesting because for a while it felt like Michigan, Texas.
Yep.
And there was the baseball angle giving me tons of Taylor Tatum vibes.
Yeah.
And when I can't remember his full name now, Schloss, their whole thing, Texas A&M gets to the championship, loses, he yells at the reporter. It says, I can't believe you asked me this question. That's so selfish. Goes to Texas the next day. It's like, I wonder if that helps Texas. And it feels like actually baseball wise, the opposite is true, because if they're not a championship contender level program, it's more likely he can play there. So, but anyway, this is another one where, hey, Michigan probably felt really good. And then the question with him, there was a clear divide in terms of how he's going to be used at the next level, right? The Texas schools are kind of pitching him as a off-ball linebacker, where Michigan is envisioning him as their weak side edge Sam guy that can drop back into coverage. So there really was a fit discussion to be had there. Where are you confidence level there now? I know he's committing. Is it tomorrow or the 2nd? But
yeah, I think it's the 2nd. Yeah, I believe it's July 2nd. Right now,
it's tomorrow too, right?
Yeah, so Hardy Watts is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Marco Jones, I believe, is the second.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So for Marco Jones, it's definitely looking like Texas A&M right now, and I think that baseball pool has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, July 2nd.
Again, I think Michigan was more than having a hat on the table here. I definitely think the interest was legitimate, and I could argue that Michigan is probably finishing second for him. So, right, and again, that doesn't mean anything. You know, it doesn't mean anything for me to sit here and go, "Oh, Michigan finished second for him." Yeah, well, that doesn't matter because they didn't win this recruitment. So, I mean, I think the fact that this staff has been able to get in, considering all the new faces on the defensive side, have been able to get on these, top tier talent is good. But again, it doesn't mean anything unless if you don't win it. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's a bummer that but again, that defensive end position on the defensive line, even interior, it just I'm not concerned with the trench play. I mean, yeah, Julius Holly is another great example of that.
So that
the kid Michigan came in on basically in the 11th hour to get that recruitment, or excuse me, that commitment, because that was a kid that was not going to Michigan a week ago.
No, so I mean that's kind of like a sub in, sub out situation.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. You go into Georgia and get a kid that Georgia wanted, right? And he's prototypical weak side edge, right? So a class with him, Nate Marshall, and Jalen Williams, like in June.
Yeah.
Okay, right. That's 3 top 20, top 22 maybe edge players in the same class. So yeah, now yes. I know.
Yeah, Dave's not wrong. Yeah, you got to keep him. I mean, yeah, getting him is good. Keeping him is another. But
I wrote an article about Lou Esposito and what he's done so quickly here, reaffirming Bobby Kink after some MSU talk.
Yep.
Getting Marshall to commit 3 weeks into being here.
Yep.
Adding Jalen Williams, a guy who those two have been open about wanting to play together. Getting Marshall back on campus and getting him to kind of reaffirm his commitment after the Auburn visit, which the Auburn stuff coming out of there is interesting, but yeah, we'll see. And then, now adding Holly, it's like that's another spot. Again, I know it's a new defensive line coach. I know it's a new defensive coordinator. But when I think about the scheme that's there, when I look at we didn't think Wink was going to be a good recruiter, but recruits, when you hear these things that they're saying about Wink, man,
yeah,
maybe he's not beating down the door and driving on the trail, but when guys are coming and meeting him, they like him a lot. The NFL pedigree. So, when you factor in what Lou's done at Western with guys like Nealon and Braden Fisk, it's another spot where, and what Michigan's obviously done with their scheme, it's another spot where I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt. So there's going to be wins and losses. If Jones ends up Texas A&M, bummer. Holly comes in, great. I mean, you said a week ago, and then Marshall before that. Those aren't two guys I thought were going to be in this class.
Yeah.
So,
and even bringing up Nate Marshall too. He was. I talked to him this week. And he was adamant that he's not going anywhere. So again, I mean, talk is exactly what that is. I mean, you got to prove it by if not going anywhere. But he was adamant that he didn't want to go anywhere. He said multiple times, "I'm a Michigan man. I'm recruiting for Michigan. I want to bring guys to play with me." So, you can only go by what a kid says. So, my concern level with losing Nate Marshall right now is relatively low, just based on what the kid is saying. I mean, I think, again, as I said earlier, pay attention to the visits. If he's not going anywhere, then good. He'll be back for the barbecue, which is huge for them and their momentum. And, we'll see how it goes. But, this isn't the final iteration of Michigan's recruiting class. There's going to be additions. I can't sit here and say that there won't be subtractions. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. I honestly, I can't tell you. I can't tell you that. I mean, I always kind of say I'll never rule it out, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, this kid's going to go, this kid's a flip, this kid's going to whatever.
Right.
We'll just kind of see what happens. But,
Well,
you know, yeah, these kids change their minds all the time. It's just what happens. So,
and people always look at that from the negative side. Michigan can also flip kids too.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So,
And that's happened multiple times. You know, Derek Moore, for example, is one of the big examples of that. Michigan taking advantage of Venables leaving and
I forgot about.
Yeah, taking over from there. So, you know, it happens. You know, it's good and bad. There's good, and then there's bad. You just gonna have to go with the flow. I mean, recruiting is not for the faint of heart. I have my opinions about recruiting, and you know, it is what it is. I don't particularly like what it's turned into from a coverage standpoint, but you know, it sure is entertaining. I'll give him that much. It sure is entertaining. So. You know, there's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. You know, and I think people are more vocal on the bad days than they are good. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of have to. I know Michigan's got their fair share of losses. They're going to lose Hardy Watts to Wisconsin. They're going to lose Marco Jones to Texas A&M. And a lot of people are going to be like, well, why is, you know, Grant Newsome getting shoved in a locker by Wisconsin and stuff? But you got to think about what this program has done on the trail in this month of June alone, just in 1 month. So, you know, you got to give him time, let the season play out like it is. And Michigan is always going to work itself out in the end. Michigan always closes strong. And I don't expect that to change.
You got me bouncing around like crazy here. Let me see how I want to. Oh, real quick. Kaner, 1 year deal coming back to Detroit. I'll take
cool.
that. Hell yeah. Okay. So let's
take that.
Let's touch on these commits real quick, and then we'll get into the last little piece of the slide. There's a couple guys here. You brought up Watts, but Chase Taylor, linebacker, did commit. We expected that one. That ended up being down to him or us, Michigan, and USC, another kid from Georgia. Be interested to see how his rankings level out. And then you've mentioned Jacob Washington. There's your big, tall receiver, right? Down the sideline guy, dynamic athlete from Louisiana, teammates with Jasper Parker, Ron Bellamy's alma mater of high school down in Louisiana. Like that kid a lot. So like I said, you've got him in already, Marsh and you know, a couple other guys you're looking at, and it's a pretty solid wide receiver class. Again, that the key is going to be the next step, right? We've seen Darius Clemens, Tyler Morris, who should take a big step this year in a bigger role. We'll be interested to see what Amorian Walker's role is. And then, you know, Fred Moore, hoping to take a step. Samaj had a breakout season. Kamaro English no longer here, but like what's happening recruiting wise, obviously we'll have to see the hit rate there, but there's gonna be opportunities for receivers to play early. That's a spot where, I mean, negative recruiting is difficult just because of the usage, but liked his piece. And yeah, we talked on Holly. So, all right. Everybody likes Peyton O'Leary. Who doesn't like Peyton O'Leary? All right. Philip Wright, again, another Louisiana receiver. You've talked about him a little bit already. Hardy Watts, let's go to him because he just came up. Michigan, we talked about this in the last show. When you think about a school for a big old lineman from Massachusetts to go to, Michigan, Wisconsin, Clemson, with what Matt Luke's doing there, those are kind of the three programs. He's been kind of tough to read. I remember an article you wrote pretty early on, talked about his camp, really didn't let a lot of stuff out. So everyone he visited felt pretty good about getting him. Right. So at the end of the day, Wisconsin made him a huge priority, treating him like the star of their class. From a negative recruiting standpoint, again, you know, Moore is not the O-line coach anymore. This is a spot where, hey, they've already, like you said, they just took 5 dudes last year. They're not scared to bring dudes from the transfer portal to jump over you. We've got early playing time available. Maybe he just liked the vibe on the campus more. I don't know. He's a kid, right? But in Wisconsin, I know it's a different coach, right? With Luke Fickell, it's a different program. Wisconsin's not exactly not known. I worded that really weird, but Wisconsin's known for doing okay with O-linemen, Big Ten. So
Yeah,
it's a bummer, but
as Justin mentioned here too, they're trying to go more spread and kind of get out of that old school type of way, which I think is going to be horrible for them. But
well, an air raid was the initial,
yeah,
bringing in, is it Longo?
yeah,
My brain doesn't work. And I was like, what are you doing?
yeah.
Like you're Wisconsin. You don't even have to try to recruit these big corn-fed boys to come play with you. And running backs,
right.
They got in the last class a back I really like, Darian Dupree.
Yeah, I like that kid a lot too.
Oh my God, is he prototypical Wisconsin running
really
back?
good.
Oh man, yeah. So
yep.
We'll see, but yeah.
I mean, they're recruiting really well with the offensive line. This is going to be Watts will be their 5th offensive line recruit, so they're essentially going to be done. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of the thing, and it goes both ways. You don't burn bridges, in recruiting. You don't just write a kid off because he commits somewhere else. You kind of keep that door open, and recruits kind of do the same thing too, because they got to look out for themselves in the process too, because you never know what will happen with the program, like a coach leaves or whatever. So yeah, I mean, can Michigan get back on him at another time? Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I mean, this is a thing where Wisconsin wanted him desperately, prioritized him from the start, and just won out. I mean, I know there was a question up earlier in the chat asking if if Michigan was losing out on these recruits in the 11th hour because of NIL or whatever, and that just always feels like a cop-out answer. Like, oh yeah, they just dropped the bag and decided to spend more money than any of the other schools. I don't know that. No one knows.
No, but I mean the Davison recruitment. So they're the running gag with Ohio State about Michigan leading up to this cycle starting to pick up momentum was what? Ohio State's got their NIL money, Michigan's broke, they're not offering kids, whatever. And then for that brief moment where Ohio State people thought Davison was coming to Michigan, what did they say? Oh, they're overpaying him. They dropped a big bag. Yeah. Is Michigan broke or are they dropping back? So every program thinks they lost a recruit because the other school dropped a bag, right? So did I just change? Yeah, there we go. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know I could hotkey that. There you go.
And I'm sure Wisconsin is pushing the playing time route for Michigan too as a negative. And okay, that's fine. Oh no, you have to work to get on the field at Michigan. Oh no, you kind of have to sit back and wait. It is what it is. I think the kid, it was a gut feeling that he wanted to go to Wisconsin, and that's fine. It is what it is. So I don't know. I just think if you focus on the losses instead of the wins, your glass is always going to be three-quarter fill, and you think it's empty.
They offer 300 kids and then seriously recruit 100 of them.
Yeah.
Right. And then half of those kids that do commit and sign probably won't contribute. Maybe they transfer out. And then maybe 3 to 5 of them are high impact players.
Unlike the football team that went 15-0 and won every game and won the national championship fair and square. You can't win them all in recruiting. You can't win them all in recruiting.
Well, so in this era too, I mean, high school recruiting has never mattered less.
Right. And the way that Michigan recruits the portal, I don't care. You can't get me to care.
And we talked about too, like
losses.
I know it was a slow start, but Sharon Moore sold the vision and plan of what was going to happen. We're kind of seeing it being executed now. We'll see later in the year. But right now, average rating, I still think they're 4th in terms of average rating for recruits. So.
You're not taking – I would be concerned if Michigan was just strictly taking MAC level talent and
MSU
and losing on MAC level talent. Their average star rating in this class is ridiculous, is ridiculously high. So that's another reason why I'm just not concerned right now and just so unbothered about recruiting.
Well, and it's easy when, okay, so Marco Jones, when I'm able to have Holly, it's easy for me to sell myself on that, right? So with Watts, if Babalola, right, does trend, because that's been the one kind of glaring thing with the offensive line is that true tackle, right? And we've seen that on the field too. I do think in this last class, Andrew Sprague, you got one, right? A guy like Babalola choosing Michigan over Stanford, and Gatch being your guard, Strayhorn being a center, and maybe you add another lineman later, okay, then I feel a lot better. So you need those other dominoes to fall so Watts doesn't sting as much. And, you know, Maxwell Roy, that's why I think this one stinks. Well, this one stinks for two reasons, right? It looks like he's going to Ohio State. I apologize. I think that's an old screenshot, so the future cast still on Michigan there. Looks like he's going to Ohio State. He felt like that kind of true DT. I think Jalen Williams is going to end up there, obviously, but that was kind of a piece missing in the class. You were talking about recruiting not ending. That's one where I don't think the recruitment ends. And actually, if I had to bet money, I think I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up at Rutgers down the road, to be honest. So this is so funny. Every time I bring up Gatch and talk about him as a tackle, everybody tells me he's going to be a guard. Why do you think he's a tackle? And then Moose just told me Gatch is going to be a tackle. So
Well,
I told you, I put my foot on the ground. I think he could be a really good right tackle. A lot of people think he's going to move in and they comp him to like Bredesen and Keegan, but we'll see.
And that's just what Michigan does is recruits versatile kids that can play multiple positions. They value that stuff. So, so the fact that we're sitting here arguing where he fits on the line just shows that, you know, the core philosophy of Michigan's offensive line recruiting is stayed the same, is that they like these versatile kids that can play in multiple positions. You could say the same about Strayhorn too. Probably going to be a center, but could also probably be a guard too. I think he's better off as a center, but also has the makings to be a guard, played guard for IMG. So also a little bit of center. So again, it's just that versatility that Michigan really likes, that you can, you know, kind of just put as many guys out there on the field and just see where it goes, you know, who fits where. So, I'm just so unbothered right now about the state of Michigan football. Obviously you got to win. Winning cures a lot of things. If Michigan continues to win, they'll be fine. Yeah. I mean, that's just what it is. It's, if they can't win, they're not going to be successful on the recruiting trail, and they're not going to be successful in the portal. So that ultimately is the thing. If Michigan continues to win games and continue what they're doing and developing these guys and bringing some underrated guys in that people might hate on at first. I remember vividly when Kwity Paye committed to the program, and everyone was like, what the hell is this? What is Don Brown doing? I mean, you hear what is Don Brown doing multiple times, but in this instance, you just got to trust how things play out. So, patience, man, just patience.
I don't know why, but I can't not hear Gus. Kwity Paye.
Yeah. Gus, what a legend.
He's so good, dude. Oh, Jabo.
Yeah, another one. Ajabo. David Ajabo. That's another one.
Dude, there's so many players just from their DPJ down the sideline. Donovan, Peoples, Jones.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk on another big one. Tight end, Andrew Olish. No secret, Michigan is going hard after him.
Yeah.
The Colston Loveland comps are now overflowing.
Yep.
Eli Owens is in the class already. Very different type of tight end. I've been shaping this up as getting a kid out of Pennsylvania to not go to Penn State and the victory that would be. But this has kind of turned into Michigan-Alabama battle where, again, if you ask Michigan people and you ask Alabama people, I think they're both really confident.
Yeah, he's another guy that doesn't really talk a whole lot. Kind of like Hardy Watts, kind of keeps things close. He was originally going to commit, I think tomorrow. I think he's the original commit date is, that's going to be pushed back probably, I'd say, another week or so. I think that is about right in terms of the time frame. Definitely a Michigan Bama battle. I still think Michigan feels good about it. My forecast has been in for Michigan.
Did he push it back for sure?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it's pushed back. I talked to one of our national guys today, and
Okay.
there is a date in mind, but I don't want to
Okay.
spoil anything in that regard.
But it got changed on here. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's a Michigan Bama battle. I don't think really. I think tight end usage is probably the one thing that Michigan has the leg up on.
Yeah.
Bama's going to get another tight end this week. Aiden Edwards, I believe his name is. He's a 4-star. They should be getting him around Tuesday. So both Bama and Michigan already have a tight end committed in the class once Edwards commits to Bama. So there's really not a I guess leg up numbers wise. So yeah, I mean, I think Michigan's in a great spot until I hear otherwise. I've still got Michigan as my pick. Michigan has taken 2 tight ends in a class for I don't know how many consecutive recruiting classes it is. It's gone way back. So it's not a real secret that Michigan values multiple tight ends in the class. So will Bama use multiple tight ends? I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I don't expect Bama's offense to go to traditional with the new staff, but
I don't know. Maybe offensive coordinator Nick Sheridan is.
Wow,
isn't that bizarre?
Meteoric rise.
It's crazy.
Bottom dregs of the barrel.
I hate. Hey, Justin, thank you. 8 straight years.
Wow. Thanks, Justin. Way to fact check there.
That was quick.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, it's not a real secret that Michigan loves to take multiple tight ends, and they use multiple tight ends. Right. So,
I don't think of tight ends when I think of Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we'll see.
And
that's why I think it's going to be Michigan.
Yeah, and I know there's more factors. I said to somebody when they said about the Watts thing, like, how could any offensive lineman shoot? Maybe he liked Madison. Right?
Madison is a beautiful.
It's a great college town. So I hate doing that where it's like, oh, you play tight end, you'd be an idiot to not come here. There's other factors, man, and every kid makes their own choice. Like I know, like with Georgia, like was it Nada, and then Oscar Delp, who's probably going to be an absolute stud this year.
Yep.
Who's that? Washington, that huge dude.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, just these guys Michigan was recruiting, and then you would pick Georgia, and it was like, ugh. Oh, all right, I get it, because they use them, and it's top program, whatever. But yeah, I think you gotta look at what Michigan's done, and then Loveland right now, and hope that that's a strong selling point. And this class is recruiting itself, man. Eli's been tweeting about a lot of these guys are, there's some continuity. You can always get kind of an interesting read too on the clickiness of the class, like dudes that are close to committing and not really talking with current commits and guys that do. But yeah, so I feel good about that. Again, things can change, but that one would bum me out because it's just such an obvious fit. Okay, I've bounced around a ton here. Is there anything we got on commits? Oh, we talked about Ray. We talked about Watts, Roy. Talked about Babbitt-Lowe a little bit. Just, I mean, that seems to be trending where Michigan's got a better shot.
I think Michigan's been surging. I really think people have gotten into his ear and be like, hey, you're going to be wasting your talent at Stanford. I think Michigan has been surging up those leaderboards, and I'm not ready to say that I'm not in prediction territory yet.
Yeah,
but a lot of people that I talk to are like, man, just the gut feel. It just feels like Michigan right now, and you'll take the Babalola edition if it means losing Watts. I mean, you'll take that trade.
That's what I'm saying.
So
yeah, if you only take 3 in this class on the offensive line, and I get Babalola, I get Gatch, and Strayhorn's my center, the year after, I just got an entire starting offensive line of Sprague, Roebuck, Garnera. Can I do this? Hamilton, Frazier. Boom.
Yeah.
And you've shown the ability to go out in the portal and get former captains, starter caliber players, Outland Trophy nominees, eventual Outland Trophy winners. Group I'm not concerned about. And you add a dude like that.
Yep.
Well done.
I want to say something really quick. I don't know if this is a hot take or whatever, but I think Spotted Cow is extremely overrated as a beer.
Spotted Cow?
Yeah, it's Wisconsin's big. It's Madison's big beer. It's their big beer.
How do I not know this?
Yeah, I think it's very overrated. I mean, I don't know if that's. I might have just offended the entire state of Wisconsin and the city of Madison, but when I went to Madison for one of the games Michigan had against Wisconsin, I had it and I'm like, it just tastes like
I said, I live in West Michigan, so Grand Rapids, Beer City, USA. Unfortunately, a lot of the craft breweries are very corporate now, Founders and Bell, but here in Holland, we had New Holland Brewing, which has blown up. I have been spoiled when it comes to good beer for a long time. So the fact I haven't heard about it, probably, I'm guessing I would agree with your opinion, but yeah. I don't know.
Steve brings up a good point here regarding tackles and guards in the portal. There was an article, and I forget who did it. There was an article saying that teams are really desperate for tackle in the portal because they're just so hard to find. Like a really good tackle prospect is really hard to find in the portal, but you can find a lot more guards. Tackle development is a big thing, and that's what Michigan has done a really good job of, is tackle development. So, I mean, I don't want to sit here and say, oh, yeah, Babalola is a must get.
Yes, I do.
I can't. I'm allergic, so I can't have it. So.
What are you allergic to?
Dairy. I'm deathly allergic to dairy, so I can't have Hudsonville ice cream. I can have dairy-free ice cream.
How do I not know? Like, not lactose intolerant, like allergic.
Yeah.
To dairy?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I would be miserable.
I mean,
I have so much dairy, I get kidney stones. So
I don't know what I'm missing. So it's not like I know
cheese, everything.
Yeah, everything. Cheese. I can't have cheese. I used to be allergic to eggs, but now I can have eggs.
That's so funny that those two always seem to happen. My wife she was lactose intolerant, and eggs it wasn't the same thing, but she just always had an upset stomach after she had them. She's never felt great after having eggs. And then when she was pregnant with Killian, probably shouldn't have said my son's name, but whatever. When she was pregnant.
Why don't you list his social security number while you're at it?
Yeah, I'm not real good with
that's fine.
I post pictures sometimes and she's like, oh, you should blur his face out. Oh, yeah. But anyway, when she was pregnant, she was chugging milk. It was the craziest thing. And she usually could just take like a lactate pill and be fine, but chugging milk. And then after she had him, we're like, oh, we'll see what happens. And now she's completely fine and she can eat eggs. And it's like, dude, pregnancy's weird.
I wish I was lactose intolerant because I'll take a little fartiness over dying. I'd rather poop my pants than die, like. I
used to work with a guy years ago that we had an ice cream place nearby that just had these unbelievable milkshakes, and he would brain freeze, dude. We'd sit in the office and he would chug this thing as fast as he could and then immediately bolt to the bathroom. I'm like, why do you do this to yourself? He's like, worth it.
I mean, it sounds miserable. It probably would be worth it, but it sounds miserable, but whatever.
Yeah, I do love Hudsonville ice cream. As you guys can tell, we've gotten into the shit show closing area of the show, so feel free to throw out some random nonsense.
We are deep into off season.
So Dave's got 2 points here I want to touch on. This sounds terrible to me. There's a bar that has bacon and porn on Sunday mornings, which I love that it's on Sunday mornings, right?
I feel like that's a joke.
All you
Like
can
that's
eat
not real.
bacon and porn on every. I don't want to sit and watch porn with a bunch of. That's bizarre. But yeah, look, hey,
I don't know for the
I'm
bacon.
not.
And for the bacon,
Yeah,
it better be good. Better be extra crispy.
bacon's pretty good. I want to know though, is this like Sans church or like there are people like going to church and then going to the bacon and porn at the bar?
But I don't even know how that's allowed, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, maybe there's strip club, whatever. But yeah,
yeah, maybe it is.
Dear God, Steve. Dear God. I'm allergic to beer. Turns me into an a-hole. That's probably tequila for me.
Yeah, we all have our our problem, our blind spots.
Yeah, I get really huggy.
Oh, God. Well, stay away from me.
Oh, you'd love a big hug from your Trevor. Well, okay. Yeah, moonshine doesn't count if you drink freaking gasoline. Yeah, you're probably gonna turn into.
Mine's meth. Personally, meth turns me into a real asshole. I mean, I have a can of duster next to me, but I promise you, it's for cleaning. It's not for huffing.
Oh my God. All right, last thing, because you just brought up a memory. Famously, I worked at Circuit City back in the day.
Oh, there's our
yeah, we get one every episode. And we sold duster that had a bitter added to it.
Oh, that's not going to stop anyone.
So fun fact. And you had to get ID'd to buy it, and we would never return it. You weren't allowed to return it or whatever. And this guy comes into the store, and it was always so fun to mess with these people. And he's like, yeah, I need to return this or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, what's going on? What's wrong with it? Like, it's open. So you used it, you know. I was like, is it defective? Do you just want to swap out for another? He's like, no, it's just not going to work for me. I was like it didn't blow air, or like what didn't work? Like, I don't understand. He's like, dude, it's just not going to work. I don't need it anymore.
Working for me.
I'm like, okay, again, like you've used it, so if you can just tell me what's wrong, I'll gladly, swap. If it wasn't good enough, this is our like no name brand. We have another one, whatever. And he gets so mad, he finally goes, okay, fine, dude. It tastes like crap. Are you happy? It tastes like crap.
That's hilarious. Oh no.
So I was like, yeah, bro, get out of here. But he was so mad. All right.
It tastes like crap. Oh boy.
Didn't see that little added bitter thing on the side of the label there. So all right.
People are wild.
Yeah. And what would Hail to the Podcast be without this is where the Taco Bell shits was born.
Yep.
Yeah.
Circuit City never fails. Though. There's always a reference.
I loved working there. I loved it.
R.I.P. Circuit City.
Yeah. Good God. There's a reason it went out of business. It was such a great job. All right. Where do I want to go here? Okay. So Josh, I've had it scrolling on the bottom there. But for those of you that don't know, we are starting a new subscription Sunday. Josh is running a contest over on his Twitter X account at Josh Henschke. It's got listed right there. If you want to follow him on Twitter, he's got the details. I think you just have to retweet the tweet, follow him.
Yep.
And then he uses an app, picks a winner every week to get a free subscription to Amazing Blue Review. If you're not a subscriber already, you can get the free subscription, running that contest on Sunday. If you are a subscriber already, which I know a bunch of you are, familiar names in here, we appreciate you. Please let everyone know. Like I said, you are our greatest selling point, the community inside the den. We're really proud of, I say what we built, but just the community that exists there. If you're not a subscriber already, would love to have you join us, michigan.rivals.com/sign up. Obviously now is a great time to join. You've heard me say this before. Most of the stuff we talked about on this show, like the Olesh, Josh has a long update on him. He posted right before we came on. So a lot of good intel constantly all week on there. You can get access to, as well as some premium content, especially once the season starts. We do a lot of analytically driven content. You can get access there.
Did you want to talk about this?
Yeah. How about, okay.
We can spend a couple minutes on it, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine. I made a joke that by September, everything Michigan has been accused of cheating will no longer be against the rules.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Just so ridiculous.
I do think it's kind of ridiculous that, Michigan is being punished for rules that are coming like legal. But I mean, the rules are rules. You got to abide by them. I get it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's funny that they were punished for them. And then right after the punishment, they're like, we'll try to kind of change it. I mean, I think that's kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth. But,
yeah,
again, rules are rules. You got to abide by them, even how ridiculous they are.
I think I care less about the punishment because, let's be honest, the punishment's a joke anyway.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not like
I
Michigan at all.
I care more about the perception and the narrative, especially driven by the NCAA, and then whatever rival fan bases say, whatever. But the way cheating just gets labeled everything, as if Michigan was the only program that had an assistant coaching during practices when they shouldn't have been or something, right? And also at the same time, you're saying, hey, Michigan cheated when Grant Newsom was helping out, blah, blah, blah. You're also pushing the NCAA to change the rule because you do it and don't want to get busted for it too. It's just annoying. Look, it's advantageous for Michigan because they have historically done a really good job of hiring talented analysts.
Yep.
And allowing those people. LaTroy comes to mind right now on staff already. Former NFL player Pernell McPhee.
Yeah.
Kevin Wilkins was a linebacker coach with Wink of the Giants on staff right now. Oh my gosh. Offensive line. I feel bad if I butcher his name. Starts with an S. Josh
Synagoga.
Yes. That guy helping. That's it's good for Michigan. But I don't know. I also kind of feel like they just okay, fine. Okay. At some point it's just going to be complete open season. Do whatever the hell you want. You know what I mean? And anytime you push that boundary, somebody's going to find another line past it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, next thing you know, the big thing is going to be that, the rules are that your analysts can go out on the road and recruit. Right. So,
yeah. So I don't know. What was the other one? What was the other significant change? It was the analysts, and then
I do think the analysts will allow Michigan to get more creative in terms of who they hire. I think they kind of expected this rule to go through anyway to begin with, so it's not like it's a big surprise. But I'm not aware of any rules that kind of put a cap limit on analysts, for salary wise.
So that's what I was just gonna say.
We're already seeing. Yeah, by bringing in paying a little bit more money to bring in an analyst or two to coach on the field. It's not an asset on the recruiting trail, but you've got, you could have a potential guy that's unemployed, that can come in and develop talent for a year or whatever. I think that allows Michigan to get creative a little bit.
This is going to be another move of imbalance for the most powerful programs in the country because
the rich get richer always.
We just saw Michigan take the defensive coordinator from Louisiana to come be a defensive back coach. Right. We've seen people leave head coach positions to be coordinators in the NFL, whatever. Is being a position coach at one program actually going to be lower than being an analyst at Michigan?
Yeah.
That's the window. So it's not just bringing in this up and coming talent like you talked about. They're going to be in contention potentially for really good position coaches that they can bring on and just call an analyst.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, all up and coming coaches in the, the bottom tier levels could hypothetically be paid more as an analyst than a position. I mean, that could be that way right now. That's why you see a lot of people. I mean, Synagoga in particular, Youngstown State position coach, becoming an analyst because he's getting paid more as an analyst than he is as a position coach.
Yeah, so
and has to do less work.
Yeah, it was
now he can do a lot more work, but
crap.
I mean, as long as he doesn't have to recruit, I mean, whatever. But yeah, I mean,
it's wild.
You can, it really, the rich get richer. I mean, and it comes down to divisions too, like a Division II or a non-Power 5 program that has an up and coming position coach.
Power 4, son.
Or, excuse me, sorry, Power 4.
Starting today.
Yeah, Power 4.
Did you see the Pac-12 updated their website? It's just got Oregon State, Washington State logos on it now.
No, that's so ridiculous.
It's so stupid and sad.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're a non-Power 4 coach and you're an up-and-comer, you're now more than likely going to be offered a nice raise to come be an analyst where you can also coach at the same time. So it really puts these programs at a disadvantage that don't have the resources like these top-tier programs do.
I don't want to say the name because it's not fair, but we know when Michigan was looking for a new defensive back coach, there was a really good position coach at a lower school that Michigan offered an analyst role to, and he said no.
Yep.
But if that's now an on-field coaching role, practice role where he could have been paid more money, and now you're talking about you could have a defensive back coach and an analyst, and you would have been fine with either one of them just being your defensive back coach. Like, that's the caliber of person you could potentially bring in. And then if that defensive back coach does get another opportunity somewhere else, becomes a DC, whatever, you've got this analyst already, like plug and play. Yeah. But I don't know, it's another piece of the NCAA being more irrelevant. I mean, they're just between the expanded playoff, the power the Big Ten has, the SEC has with their market deals. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess today's point here, analyst sounds like a better gig. I guess from a work standpoint, yes, because you don't have to go on the road, but you're not going to be paid as like you're going to be a position coach. So I guess it's kind of what you value more.
And
really.
And when they're on the road, you're putting binders together and doing a lot of really crappy admin work. I remember when I talked to James Ross before he went to Cincinnati, because he was the defensive coordinator at Hope here in Holland. And he said, he doesn't have the analysts like they had at Michigan.
Do all the dirty work.
Yeah. So like he's the defensive coordinator and he's building the playbooks, like the physical books that get handed out at camp and, all that work. So he goes from defensive coordinator to linebacker coach because downgraded title, but now he gets people that it's a better gig aside from the money in a bigger program, but like he had to do everything, so I don't know. It's kind of scary too. Some of these lowers, I mean, we're already seeing schools shuttering their athletic programs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
As for the dead period, I don't really know if I have an opinion on that. I mean, it's just better for the coaches. They have more time. I mean, the reduced portal windows help because you're right at the end of the season. And especially, it happened with Michigan last year too. I mean, the portal window was right open as they're preparing for college football, the semifinal and the national championship. You're dealing with a portal window. It also puts the players at a disadvantage too, if those that are participating in that. So I guess from a timing standpoint, it gives coaches more time, which is good. I guess selfishly from a coverage standpoint. A dead period in July is good for us because we don't have to worry so much about recruiting and stuff, and allows us to have more time off as we prepare for the fall. So I guess selfishly that's good.
You can have the barbecue in August. I don't give a crap.
Yeah, you can have, yeah, I mean, yeah. You can have barbecue in August or even do it in June or May, for crying out loud. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but yeah, I mean, cool. Whole month of July off. Sweet. Like, I mean, I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. I was just kind of like, all right, cool. I mean, it helps the football staff more than anyone. But
the last big rule change that I've seen talked about a lot that hasn't happened yet that I think will be interesting would be the early signing period.
Yep.
Pushing for them being able to sign in the summer.
Yeah, that changes a lot. That would change a lot of things.
Yeah,
absolutely would.
Yeah, I don't.
I think it's a risk. It's a risk for the players. It's definitely a risk for players who sign early because you don't know what's going to happen. You know, you got a whole off season to go through if you're signing early, and then you got to go through the season, and then whatever happens after the season in regards to your program, like your coaches and whatever, you have to go through that too. So,
yeah, if a coach leaves, you get the window for that, but that would be the only
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I worry too about here's your NIL deal if you sign now.
Yeah, that too.
Goes away if you don't sign in the early period, right? Like it's just opening the door for some more of. We already know that's happening,
so. Right? Exactly. Yeah.
All
Exactly.
right. That's we had a 20-minute show ending. That's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
but we gained viewers. I don't understand it. You guys, hell, I appreciate it, but
they just like it. They just like us.
A lot of Circuit City fans.
Hey, that's all right.
I'm trying to think with the way the holiday works. Probably have a show next week, but not the week after, right?
Let me look at the
I've got
4th of July is on Thursday.
I've got my what day is that tonight? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Oh, right. That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, if
good show meeting during the show.
Yeah, we're still live. We came for mission and stay for the Circuit City. Absolutely.
I used to work at Lowe's. Does that count for anything?
It's not funny.
I worked at Lowe's for 6 years. No, it wasn't funny. It was the worst time of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
I loved it.
So it wasn't funny.
I had a lot of all my high school jobs. I worked at like the not big store, right? So Circuit City, there was obviously Best Buy. I worked at Office Max for years, which I don't think they technically exist anymore because of Office Depot buying them or whatever. But I loved those jobs. Anyway, in terms of when we go live, like I said, with the holiday, and then I have my final little deal that might shore me up for a couple days. So make sure follow us on Twitter. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, and doing notification bell on here too, because I posted it like an hour before today, so I'm sorry I tried to post it earlier than that. But Builder Square, that's a good one. That's what I'm talking about. That's a good one. I'm the dog from Up. Squirrel. But I try to post them ahead of time so you know when we go live, but we always shoot for this Sunday at 7 window. We got to get Brock back on. He's on a cruise.
Yeah.
Currently. But we'll have to get him back on when we start getting into some more season preview kind of conversation. Obviously there's been some summer stuff going on and some little things are coming out of there we can keep tabs on. But yeah, so we'll try and be live again next week, Sunday at 7. Otherwise, Michigan.rivals.com. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join us in the den. As always, the people here joining us live, the people that have stuck around for the entire show, taking part in the conversation. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. You go on Twitter and you blast the show for us too. You are awesome. If you're watching this on playback and you want to be a part of the conversation, again, like, subscribe, notification bell so you know when we go live. And that'll do it. Hail to the podcast.